March 21st, 2023. Welcome. This is part 3 of my testimony. Like I said, if you watched the first video, I've been going through spiritual warfare battles. God's been preparing me to expose this enemy. I have live, actual footage of what spiritual warfare looks like and how the enemy can control someone to use against you. The enemy been using my wife, my children, my sisters, my mother, my father, since I gave my life over to God in November of 2015. And this is my testimony. Watching these videos, you will see what made me call out to God and surrender my life over to Him. You will see the progression in my spiritual journey from being a believer in the Lord to following Him to having obedience to learning how to love, have faith, forgiveness, everything that the Bible teaches us. My videos go all the way back to 2018, but I had videos in 2017 that got deleted. So I got to fill everybody in all the way through 2017. The last where I stopped at yesterday in my last video was I was taken in by Dirk Bean, Jesse, Corey, Talitha in a 2-bedroom apartment in Inglewood by God-fearing people. They was white people in the hood. So that already should let you know that they didn't fear anybody but God. During that time with them, I went to church for a whole year. They didn't charge me rent for 2 years. When I talked to Dirk in 2019, Dirk simply said, and I asked him, why did y'all take me in when y'all didn't know me? And he simply said God told him to. This is around 2001. I remember living with them, and I remember watching 9/11 with them early that morning. I remember the teachings, and Dirk was the first person that that I seen actually meditate on God's word. He would go into the room with his chair and he would pray to God for an hour. At that time, I was like, that's amazing. I could barely pray to God for 30 seconds up to a minute. He's talking to God for a whole hour. I didn't even know you could even talk to God that long. Like, what are you talking about? He was the first person that I seen do that. Living with them, I was still dating my girlfriend at the time, my oldest son's mother. She ended up getting pregnant. Had my oldest son, Rashad. Even though I was 21 and she was 28. We had a 7-year difference in age. And at that time, I didn't have no uncles in my life. Mainly on my dad's side, but they lived in Portland. My uncles on my mom's side, they all passed away. I didn't have no male influence to talk to, anybody that I could talk to about my problems, what I was going through. Like I said, I didn't have a relationship with my father. So when my wife got pregnant, I just did what I thought a man was supposed to do, and that's marry. Even though I didn't know anything about red flags, I didn't know anything about communication, I didn't know anything about trust. I got married to my oldest two mother. She had the baby. We found a place up the street from her mother. And I was just too immature to understand how to lead a family. I made some mistakes. I apologized to my ex-wife. She made mistakes too. Have got an apology from her? No, never will. I apologized to her almost 12 years ago. You know, God was telling me to apologize. And when I did it, I felt relieved from my wrongdoing. We lived together during our marriage. There was, she cheated on me. I cheated on her. She ended up putting me out. At this time, my cousin that I was living with in the beginning when I moved to LA, he was living with me. I was pretty much homeless. We was homeless. I was sleeping in my car. Or I'll be at a girlfriend's house and sleep over there at times. But I was still doing me. I still had that lust demon attached to me. And I was homeless for a time being. And then the girl that I was dating, she said, you can't sleep in your car. What if your car break down? So I rented out a room. Moved my cousin up in there with me for the time being. We lived there. Still, I'm not going to school. I was working for the MTA, driving the city buses. End up moving from that, renting out that room to renting a single. Still, me and my cousin kicking it strong. Our goal was, who can we sleep with? This whole time I'm working, but this lust demon just is attached. And all I wanted to do was have sex with whoever. Now, like I said, I was always protected. But I end up meeting a woman. Matter of fact, I'm sorry. So me and my ex-wife, we tried to reconcile, but we was just having sex. She ended up having another son. I'm still doing me. I meet my youngest son's mother. Now we ain't talked. Me after my second child, me and my ex-wife was pretty much done. A year later, or 6 months, 7 months later, I meet my youngest son's mother. I I move out of my single and move in with her because at the time my ex-wife, she files child support on me. I'm young, I didn't know who to talk to. They taking all my check. My rent at the time was $500. I was getting $200 checks. I didn't know how to survive. Didn't know I could go and get it modified. You know, um, I was making a little bit over 1,000, but when I got my check, I had $200 in my name to survive off of. So, like I said in the first video, everybody that I didn't say this. I deleted my second video. Okay, so every woman that I dated, I needed something from. If it was a place to stay, food to eat, somebody to babysit my children, that was my only goal for being with whatever female that I wanted to be with. Eventually, I end up liking them, probably love them, but my intentions was not pure. It wasn't honest. So when I moved in with my child's mom, it was because she didn't know I was probably gonna get evicted. And I sold it to her like, I could help out with the rent. She worked at the bus company too. So she already knew how the checks was. But I didn't tell her that child support was being taken out. I made it seem like after I moved in, I told her, you know. Um, Me and her had a lot of fights, a lot of arguments. Um, if me and the problem with me and my ex-wife, we didn't have communication. The problem with my child's mother, we didn't have trust. I didn't trust her, she didn't trust me. And during this process, my ex-wife was holding my children away from me. I was paying child support, but I couldn't see them. Then when I went to file to see them, she lied and made it seem like they didn't know me, and I had to do supervised visits and to start off and then overnight. But I picked when that schedule happened, I was there every single weekend, every other weekend. Didn't matter if I had a car, didn't matter if I had to get on the bus, if I had to get on the train. I did whatever it took to be in my son's lives. I end up having a domestic dispute with my ex-wife, which at the time, I never went to jail. It was just a lot of phone call, 911 calls from the address where I lived at. Sometimes it was me, sometimes it was her. But like I said, I never talked to nobody about this. So when I was summoned to court, I took a no contest, not knowing that no contest means that you're guilty. So I had a misdemeanor record of domestic violence, which I had to go take 52 weeks of domestic violence courses, even though there was no domestic violence. If it was anything, I might have grabbed her. Let me say that. It was domestic violence now when I think about it. But I never hit her with an open palm or a closed fist. It was more grabbing and restraining than anything. But I was in class with a lot of people that was actually beating up their significant others. The stories that I was hearing it was like, wow. So now I'm with my other child's, my youngest son's mom, and she's a fighter. So she would fight. She would hit me. I would get abused. You know, I would grab her too. Now, I hit her one time, but one time was too many. We was in the dark. She hit me, and I just swung. Didn't know what I connected. I guess I hit her. Ended up hitting her on her forehead. She had a knot on her forehead. I already knew that she was calling the police. I left. I parked my car at my cousin's house. I had my best friend, because they was calling me saying that I need to turn myself in. And I didn't want to be just in the streets running. So I took my car, because I had all my belongings. I had my whole world in the back of my trunk. I was living out my trunk, because me and my child's mom would always have makeup breakups. So it just got to the point where I just kept my stuff in the trunk of my car. Save some time, so when she kicks me out for whatever reason, I could just leave. I didn't have to pack anything up. So my best friend ended up taking me to the Compton courthouse, which I turned myself in, and I was locked up for about 2 weeks. I was locked up for 2 weeks, got out right before. And on the bus, right before I went in, I ended up losing my job at the MTA because of my time in jail. And I met this woman. Her name was Felicia. Now this is where the enemy really had a strong hold on me. See, when you're in bondage, you don't even know you're in bondage. You're just gonna be the worst version of whatever you're sin that you're in. If you're on crack, you're gonna probably be like a real crack addict that you're stealing and selling, and it's crack 24/7. You know, since mine was lust, I moved in with this woman. Right after I got out of jail, she took me in. She was older than me. She was 12 years older than me. So at the time, she was 38. So that had to make me, 26? And she was a God-fearing woman. Well, she was in her journey, because she was the first person that I see. She would literally wake up. She didn't have a car. She would wake up around 4:30, 5 o'clock. She was disciplined. Go to the kitchen table, have her coffee, read the word. Go to work, catch the bus, go to work. At the time, I think I did have a car, so I started dropping her off. Then she would come home, take her shower, but in the shower she'll pray. That was her prayer time, in the shower, in the bathroom. And this was a routine that I always looked at and was like, wow, that's crazy. Now, I still love God, but I had this lust demon connected. And I was still looking to sleep around. I was still sleeping around with other females. Come home and sleep with her. See, when you have a demonic spirit in you, you don't care about nobody else's feelings. You only care about yourself. And at the time, I was at a place where the enemy had bondage on me. That even though this woman cooked, cleaned, washed my dirty clothes, watch my kids when I started working again, and I would get my kids on the weekend and I would bring them over. She'll watch them until I was off in the morning. Was because the bondage just kept telling me, you got to find somebody else to sleep with. It was not even about, I would be on the party line, Black Planet, POF, when that first came out, MySpace, and all I would be trying to do is find people that I could flirt with, that later on I could meet up with. And if I wasn't doing that, I was masturbating. That lust demon had a control on me so tough that I would master, even though she never, at the time, me and her was sleeping around, even though she was getting into the word, we were still having sex. And she could be in the house in a one bedroom. She could be in the house in the bedroom, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm in the living room, my thing out, and I'm masturbating. Didn't care if she came in and seen me doing it or not. See, when the enemy's controlling you, it's never gonna be normal activity. That's not normal. Especially when she left. Oh, I was masturbating. I was having a masturbate. I was just masturbating left and right, back to back, triple time. It didn't matter. I would watch porn on top of porn, masturbate, be on the party line. Got to the point I didn't have nowhere to live. I lived under this woman's house. She paid the rent. I just had EBT in general relief. I give her my 200, give her the food stamps, and that was it. Not one time did my natural self say, Rashad, you need to go to school, get a trade. No, it was about sex. To the point I started having females come over to the house and we would have sex in the bed that me and this woman slept in. When I think about this, it's nothing that I'm proud of. It just lets me know how the enemy had control over me, and I didn't even know that I was being controlled. And I was doing things that is not normal. I would have a different female or sometimes regulars come over. She'll go to work. I know she caught the bus because I probably didn't have a car. And I knew what time she'll be coming home. Even though she could have came home early for whatever reason, I would have females come over to the apartment and we would have sex in the living room. Sometimes we'll have sex in the bed. I made sure I vacuumed everything, put another cover out on top of the bed that I knew she was not going to open or anything. And I disrespected this woman, the woman that watched my kids, cook breakfast, cook dinner, wash my clothes, bought me stuff. I was too blind to see what she was doing because the enemy was controlling me. And it was like this. Me and Felicia was together for about 3 years. I was selfish. I would save up my money, move out, move in my own place. Come visit her, have sex with her every blue moon. Instead of trying to make something work with her, and get a bigger place. Nah, not when the enemy's using you. You're gonna be selfish. You're gonna do what you want to do, and that lust demon had control of me. It's nothing that I'm proud of. It's nothing that I look back and say, I wish I could relive that again. Cause I was nasty. I was nasty. I was the worst Rashad. It got to a point where I had to sit to myself and say to myself, I don't even feel like myself. I said to myself, I don't even recognize who I am. But I couldn't do it. I didn't know how to go about it. Felicia was a God-fearing woman. Her faith got stronger. It would be times I would try to go over there and have sex, and she'll tell me, no, we can't have sex. So she done got stronger in her faith to know what she was doing was sin by us having sex with each other. And then one day God spoke to me and he said, leave Felicia alone. Do not try to pursue and have sex with her no more. And I did it. I moved on. It's around 2008. I remember moving out because I moved out and then moved back in because I had a problem with, I had a roommate and we had a problem. And I moved back in with her because, like I said, I was only be with females just to use them. And then when I moved back in, we stopped having sex. I thought it was something wrong. Like I didn't understand why we was not having sex because we would have sex 3-4 times a week. Then it went from 2 times a week to 1 time a week to 1 every 2 weeks to once a month to God telling me we can't have sex no more. And then he told me to move. And I ended up moving out. I had my own place, still living in the world. Still, it was nothing but sex. Whoever I could date, whoever I could have come over to my apartment. You know, I would work and then try to have sex. The enemy still had a stronghold on me. I remember one time going, it'll be times where I go check on Felicia, see how she's doing, go get a bite to eat. And then it was one day I went to her house and she moved. I tried to call her. She changed her phone number. And I know that was hard because I know Felicia really loved me. Even though she did not know that I was cheating on her. I was a cheater. I knew how to cheat with the best of them. Like I said, all this stuff I'm not proud of. But I gotta tell my story and I can't leave anything out because there's somebody out there that's living the same way I'm living right now. And I'm showing, and these videos is gonna show them how to be delivered. I moved out. I was in my own place. And I would still go to church every once in a while, go to church on my own. Whoever I was at this point, I slowed down on wanting to sleep with a lot of different women, and I probably was focused on one woman. Or I might have had a girlfriend. Still might cheat if the opportunity presented itself, but I wasn't out there looking to cheat. I wasn't out there looking to have sex. It was more when I was in a relationship with some females, I was in a relationship with them. If I was single, then I was out there doing the most. And the next part, part 4, is gonna come in, and this part 4 is very important. This video been going for about 30 minutes. Part 4 is the Jasmine years. And I'm gonna tell you why Jasmine plays an important part in my journey. Until then, glory be to God. I love you, and I'm out.